Funny Thing Is podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Birch, where every week a guest comes on. They share a life-changing event, the medicine they took to get better, and the funniest lesson they learned along the way. Today is a solo episode where I'm going to be answering some questions and tying it into the podcast. So my life-changing event recently, a lot of people have been asking about, is after 16 years in Los Angeles, 3 weeks ago, me, my husband, and my daughter moved back to my hometown of Kansas City. Woohoo! So this is one of those things where so many people are like, are you going to tell people? The amount of people I know that no longer live in Los Angeles or New York, move back to their hometown, move back to a different town, and they don't tell anybody, I could out some people. You know what I mean? I could really out some people. I would never do that. But that has been the big conundrum. Do you share that you're no longer in Los Angeles? And I'm going to say this based on my podcast and my stand-up. If I lied to you guys about that, that would be like the antithesis of what I'm trying to do. So I'm very open about it. I'm very vocal about it. I've wanted to leave Los Angeles for the last 3-4 years. A lot of that has to do with becoming a mother. A lot of that is that after the pandemic, we learned that you can pretty much work from anywhere, especially as a stand-up comedian, content creator, podcast persona, whatever. All of those can be done anywhere in the world, right? But you still feel like maybe you're shooting yourself in the foot. Why other people aren't sharing that by telling people, because if they want to book you for something in LA, maybe they won't call you because you live in Omaha now or whatever, right? And I have had the opposite happen. Now, some of that is because people didn't know. I hadn't announced it yet that I had left, or I hadn't made it very clear that I had left Los Angeles. But we're going to talk a little bit about energy. So I told you the reasons why we wanted to move. Also, my daughter's 5 years old. She's starting kindergarten. She actually just started 2 weeks ago. And she is surrounded by family, land, grass to run around on. It's a bit safer in my book. And on top of that, she gets to go to school with her cousin who's in first grade. And I literally drive 5 minutes to my sister's house, and they walk to and from school together every single day, see each other at recess. Everly has acclimated so beautifully. I keep waiting for this eruption or her to have a breakdown because of all the change. And that is, I think, a testament to Craig and I. Craig is her dad, who came out for the first week and when she started school. And she's not really had any hiccups. The other thing is, if you are looking to move across country with children or they're going through a big transition, I had a therapist that I was seeing who specialized in childhood development and big transitions and custody stuff also. But she was the one who said, pack every single thing in her room and make her new room look almost exactly the same. You can change it later. And I'm like, oh, she has this ugly comforter that I've been wanting to replace forever, but she really, really wanted it. And, you know, it's the kind that you look at and you're like, that's flammable. Like that's an ugly ass. It's pretty ugly. And we kept everything the same, all of her same stuffies. And there was something about it when she walked into the room and saw that it was already set up and it looked just like her old room that calmed her down instantly. Also, the therapist was like, for the next 3 to 6 months, you need to be giving extra cuddles. She can sleep with you if she needs to sleep with you, which is weird because that therapist is actually like not pro co-sleeping. But she said during this transition time, that's really important. But I was expecting, full tilt meltdowns, bedwetting, lack of sleep, and none of that has happened. I think it's also because we've gone to Kansas City so much. I mean, she's turning 6 next week. I think she spent a full year with all of our trips and us riding out the pandemic for 5.5 months. She spent at least a year in Kansas City. So it's like a sixth of her life. So it wasn't that much of an uprooting. I think the hardest thing is that her dad still lives in Los Angeles. So a lot of people have asked about the custody situation, and we are trying to do what is best for her. I think, we both put her first, but we both have a different idea of what her growing up should look like. And mine was in Kansas City. And so now we're just navigating through that. And he came out on the first week. We're back in LA right now. It's been 3 weeks and I'm already back in LA. And we're coming back for a full week at the end of October. He's going to come visit in between then. It's not going to be 50-50. We're going to make it as close as we possibly can. to where it's the least amount of transition for her. And I think that that's helped, and that's helped her navigate through that. I wanted to mention what I've noticed, the change in myself and what my husband has noticed. I didn't realize how much I'd been white knuckling it the last 5 years, how much struggle, how much stress I was on, like under chronic stress and stuff. And being in Kansas City for 3 weeks, keep in mind, we dropped off all of our stuff and the next day we flew out, like stuff in boxes, dropped it off, flew out for my East Coast part of the tour. So we've kind of barely been back. So this is all pretty new, right? And what I've noticed is I started taking showers every day. And I know that sounds ridiculous because you're supposed to take a shower every day, but I hadn't done that in like since before Everly was born. It was like every other day, 3, sometimes I'd go 3 days. I mean, like gnarly. And I didn't realize that that is the minimal point of self-care. And I wasn't even giving myself that, which is wild. 2, I started cooking. I mean, I am like Susie fucking Homemaker, which is wild because I cannot cook at all. I'm making pot roast. I'm telling my husband I love him all the time. He's kind of freaked out about it, I'm sure. And he said, not only have I been like cooking and showering, but now I'm starting to work out again. And it's so wild because my whole thing when I lived in Los Angeles at the very beginning was I would do Runyon, Fryman, Griffith. I would do all of those within a week, or I would at least do Runyon twice a week. I was into hiking. I was into yoga. I was into running. In lifting weights and stuff like that. I'd always belonged to a gym. I frequented it, several times a week. So to have my 5-year-old look at me and go, "Mommy, why have you never worked out?" is so sad. And I was like, oh, that's a part of myself that I'm getting back now. And I don't know what it is exactly that is allowing me to do that, because it's not like I was working a 9 to like 50 hours a week here in LA and now I'm not. And so I have the bandwidth. I think it's that I don't have to juggle 4 jobs and side hustles and the stress of Everly. I don't want her to ride her scooter too far in front of me because it's dangerous. Well, in Kansas City, she could be a mile in front of me and I have way less worry, I suppose. And where we're at, we have a temporary spot that is a brand new complex, apartment complex. It's gorgeous. Again, we got a short-term lease just because we thought we were going to be buying a house as soon as possible. And now I'm not really in a hurry to do that as much. I want us to get settled before making an executive decision on the house. And a block away is this trail that is like tree covered. It's almost like the secret garden. You go back here and it's this man-made trail, and the community built a playground for the local kids. It's not even on a map. And it's literally where all the kids in the neighborhood go right around 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, right before bed, play for like half an hour, run their little butts off. And then you get to meet all the parents. And then you just go back to your house and get ready for your bedtime routine. It's just such community. It's very different. And I'm also surrounded by all of my family. So my mom, my cousins, my sister, who I now get to see every day, which is wild. It just feels different. And somebody asked me the other day, oh, it must be bittersweet. I gotta be honest, do not have any bitter so far. And I say that also because I think what happened is I was able to relax. My energy shifted, and then suddenly I start getting all these job opportunities. It is wild. My friend Jody Miller reached out to me, and she's been on the podcast, and she goes, "Hey, do you want to be on Comics Unleashed?" Which, if you guys remember Comics Unleashed with Byron Allen, I think it was like they did like 15 years, and then it's been off air for like 10 years. Well, they're rebooting it now. It's replacing Taylor Tomlinson's show after Colbert, and they're bringing it back. And so I'm filming that on Tuesday, which is wild, right? And Jody's reading my material that I sent in, and she messaged me and she goes, "Girl, did you move to Kansas City?" And I was like, "Yeah." She goes, "Why didn't you tell me?" And I was like, "Well, if I would have told you," I go, I'm literally talking about on the podcast today. "If I would have told you, would you have booked me?" And she goes, "I probably wouldn't have reached out." But I go, "Girl, I am back in LA like once a month. So please, if you have any opportunities, keep my name in your head. Like, I'm willing to fly back for whatever. I just don't want to live here anymore." So That happened. I have to turn in a tape for The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. That happened, which due to travel and stuff, I have to figure out how to do it next week, but that's an opportunity. I had the best stand-up show of my life on August 21st in Kansas City. It was at the now Funny Bone. It used to be called the Improv. It used to be the Improv, which is also the location where, and I'm sure you've heard me talk about it, where I've had the worst shows of my life. I opened for Chris Porter in 2021. It was it was everybody's first show after the pandemic, and I bombed all 6 shows. And I mean, terribly, to the point where like trying to get people to come out for this last show, some people politely declined because they probably thought I was still shit. Like, that's how bad. Even like my aunt, who adores me, just kind of gave me a weird thumbs up after that first show. And I was like, oh no, was that bad? It was that bad. I was going through an identity crisis. I just talked with my friend Sylvia Sage this morning, who featured for me in Kansas City, and who will tell you she had a rough show. And I was like, look, we're getting coffee because I want you to know I had the roughest shows of my life. And then I went back and I fucking killed it. And I needed to kill it because otherwise no local people would come out and see me again. And it was better than any special I've done. My mom and dad were in the audience. They've been divorced for 40 years, so it was hilarious. It was also like a mini reunion for my high school. It was like our 25th reunion. And when you're just in the pocket, I did 65 minutes, 70 minutes. I mean, it was something unreal. Nurse Rachel, I came out as Nurse Rachel at the end. My cousin, who is the real Nurse Rachel, she flew in from Nashville. It was such an amazing show, and it let me know that, oh, I can keep doing this in Kansas City and have a platform here and then branch out and not feel like I'm giving up my career or anything like that. In fact, I've hit a different gear where I don't really give a fuck about the industry, like people needing to know where I'm at or tabs. I think those opportunities are still coming. The Tonight Show opportunity came fully knowing that I live in Kansas City. And then there's a organization. If you guys know the Big Slick in Kansas City, it's ran by Paul Rudd, Eric Stonestreet, Jason Sudeikis, David Koechner, Heidi Gardner, and Rob Riggle. And they raise money every year. It's usually June. It's at Kauffman Stadium, and then there's a big show afterwards, and it raises money for Children's Mercy Hospital. And I have wanted to be a part of that as like, not that main group, but they bring on a lot of like, like me, not A-list celebrities, but like lower, right? And they have you come out if you're from Kansas City, and they have you bring your following and try to get money and awareness. And I've been wanting to be a part of it for so long. Well, then I find out after I do my show in Kansas City that was basically an audition for that. Thank God nobody told me that before. I think I would have thrown up. And now I get to be part of the Big Slick next year, which is wild. Like, who would have thought that? So I have 4 huge opportunities in a 3-week span. And so moving to Kansas City has felt like an absolutely amazing, amazing decision. I jokingly say, you know, I used to love Los Angeles, like 16 years ago, even the bad parts, the smog, the traffic. I would roll down my window, inhale that pollution, and just be a giddy little super excited about it, right? I love Los Angeles. And now I'm like, you know, yeah, that was because I was in my 20s. Now I'm in my 40s. My knees hurt. I'd rather die bored in a tornado. You know, it's just your perspective like changes. And I'm super grateful for making the decision. But my lesson in it to you is that my biggest fear was that if I moved, all my problems would follow me. And I think that does happen to a lot of people because you're not addressing your issues and what's going on. That has not been my situation. Almost 90% of my worries, issues, whatever you want to call it, have gone away. My Hashimoto's is under control. My cortisol levels are like at an all-time low. I just got tested last week. I feel like Everly's in a very safe place. She's surrounded by people who are, I mean, she sees a cousin every day on one side of the family or the other. Like, she is surrounded by community, and the school she goes to is so freaking cute and so amazing. And like, the library itself is better than any library I've ever been in. And I don't know. There's just something about it that I feel like, home sweet home. Never thought I'd move back ever. Thought I would move back. And I'm so glad that we did. And now I get to get back to a little bit of my own autonomy, going back to working out, going back to cooking, going back to the things that I love. I'm now writing scripts again, which I haven't written anything in like anything long form in like 6 years. And yeah, so everything has changed. So sometimes the lesson is you do have to move out of your circumstances to get a fresh start. Just make sure that like the stuff that you're dealing with, and this was a 4-year decision, right? I didn't even like voice it to the important parties, which would be Craig. I didn't even voice it until like 2 years ago. But by the time I'd voiced it, I'd been wanting to leave for 2 years. And I'm grateful for him for being so accommodating and understanding. And I know that this is not what he wanted. I'm also grateful for the community and my husband for checking in and being like, hey, how's everything going? Because there is that fear you're going to wake up one day and be like, oh my God, what the fuck did I do? I need to go back to LA. I am nowhere near that right now. I will let you know if that changes. And luckily I have Petty Cash Studios where I can always come back and keep filming content and, feel like I still have my finger on the pulse of what's going on in Los Angeles. But I am so, so grateful that we did the move and that Everly is thriving, that I'm thriving, which is just like an added bonus to helping her thrive. And that my career, I don't know if I want to say energetically, it's like the universe going, you made the right decision. So here's your prize. That's kind of what it feels like. So yeah, so look for me on The Tonight Show, hopefully early 2026, baby. That's my lesson for today. Sometimes you got to move. Sometimes you got to move and rebrand and start fresh. And I'm also 43, so now's a perfect time. Any A-list celebrity that has been famous since she was 20 has a rebrand, a hard relaunch at 40, and that's kind of what I'm doing. And I want to take you guys along with me. So come on, let's do it. All right, that's the end of the episode. You guys can follow me at Nicole Birch Comedy or NicoleComedy.com. And of course, at The Funny Thing Is podcast, where you can message me any questions, DM me, whatever you want to know, and we will answer them on the next solo episode. We'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.